Hey everybody, this is Legends of the Mist. This is a game design by a fellow by the name of Chris Peach. Chris Peach is one of the loyal listeners to the weekly Alaboom. If you don't know what that is, for shame. If you follow what I do, every Wednesday night around 9 p.m. Central, me and a few other people that I consider to be friends within the industry gather together to discuss the goings-on of the past week as far as things that happened in the gaming world and what have you. Chris Peach is one of our loyal fans, if you will, of which there are at least tens. Well, ones. I don't know, but anyway, Chris Peach is a really nice guy, and he sent me this game to try it out, and I was like, well, if I don't like it, and he's like, no, don't worry, I think you're going to like it, I think you're going to like it. So, I played it, I had a lot of fun with it. This is a game that kind of bridges that weird gap of, both, Euro-y resource collection with some dice play, which I really like. I like Euros that have dice, and so I think Chris had a pretty good idea that I'd like it, and he was right. So, why don't I show you how to play Legends of the Mist. The idea behind Legends of the Mist is basically you are part of this weird, clan that is trying to impress the Empress. Try saying that 10 times fast. Impress the Empress. You're trying to impress the Empress that you are the greatest clan, the greatest clan leader legend, and whoever does the best job of that will then be the winner of the game. So let me show you how the game is played. It shouldn't take too long, but it's got some ins and outs over there, and it'll be kind of interesting to kind of teach that to you. And then we'll come back here and I'll talk a little bit more about why I have had fun playing Legends of the Mist. Alright, cool. Alright, this is Legends of the Mist. I'm not going to show you a step-by-step process of each and every turn. What I'm going to be doing here in this gameplay portion, I just want to show you how the game works, and we'll go from there as far as the different actions you can do and so forth. Normally the game only starts with this one tile in the middle, but just so I can show you different things as the game progresses, I wanted to put a bunch of tiles out. Basically what these tiles are, I'm just going to show you one quickly. They'll have a color to it. The color will matter due to certain powers and abilities that will present themselves as the game progresses, to be it on your legend that you are controlling or different objective cards, things like that. So here you have White Pear Grove, has a cute little picture there. It says when you build this plot, produce a die on each adjacent plot. This game has a lot of resources in this game are dice. And so when you build it, this would produce a die, create those resources on those plots. That'll make a lot more sense when I explain it to you in further detail in just a little bit. But that's just the special power. It's any of these games that you played, they have these different powers that just break the rules in some way. And I love games like this. I love little extra little things that you can plan around and use to your advantage. And that's what these games are for me. They're exploration games where you just have tiles, you have cards, you have powers, and then you kind of link them together to produce effects that will help you win the game. You'll notice that these little dice over here, those are the resources. This will produce a green die and it'll produce a yellow die. And you can see there's a big pile of dice over there. And I should mention, as always, this is a prototype I was sent. It is a very high-level prototype, but what you're seeing in front of you may or may not be indicative of the game once it is published. But anyway, so that's what these little tiles are, and you go ahead and you place those down. When you build tiles, I should mention that when you place a tile, either it's got to be touching the starting mist tile, or it has to be touching two tiles. So basically what that means is you can't place a tile like this, but you could place a tile like that. And I'll get more into that when I talk about the other actions and things that you can do when your turn begins. When the game begins, each person will be handed 3 of these objective cards, and then they'll pick one, pass to the left, pick another one of the 2 they got, and so forth until each person has 3 objective cards. Objective cards is they'll tell you certain things you have to do, like group 3 green hexes, so get 3 green hexes next to each other, produce up to 2 die on another plot, and so this will be worth 3 victory points at the end of the game if you succeed in this particular thing. Control 1 color of each hex. Control is designated by having the most meeples on a particular spot, and then you get it, and then you get to activate 2 of your militia groups when you succeed at doing so. Turn in 2 red dice, place a militia militia on your plot. So like basically that means you hand off 2 red dice. You can't ever. I'm going to explain in just a quick moment. You do have permanent dice that you can't hand those off. That'll make sense in just a little bit. So like in this case, you wouldn't be able to turn in red dice that were yours, that were permanent dice that you had. Have 5 blue hexes in play. It's worth 4 extra. So these objective cards are like, by and large, the biggest way that you'll get to earn victory points. And also, depending on the number of players, the number of objectives completed determines the end of the game. So with 2, it's 8. 3 players, it's 7. 4 players, it's 6. So the objective cards, and you have the ability to gain more of them as the game begins, but you'll start with 3 objective cards. Other people might know the objectives just because they've handed those cards to you, and they know which ones are out there, but they don't know technically who has which objectives, if you will. All right, so at the beginning of the game, you get a color. In this case, like I picked green here. And you get 3 of these legends that you get to pick as your legend leader. And those are represented by these different colored meeples there. And like in this one, it shows their permanent dice that they'll always have to roll at the beginning of the turn when they play. So in this case, like he has 2 white and a red. This one has a white, yellow, and blue. This one has 2 white and a green. They have a little name, and they have a certain ability. So like when you build a green plot, take a die it produces from the supply, then produce the other die on it. Or when you make a conquest action, you remove a militia from the plot you start and end your movement in. Normally it's only when you end your movement in, but that would be another ability. Or you may rearrange your assigned dice using your unassigned dice as well after all players reveal their resource dice. Now that one might take some explaining. Why don't I do that right now? So anyway, I picked this one, and we're going to go ahead and place that there. Now, technically, depending on the dice that you have, you may have produced dice and have other dice, but you're always going to have like these generic dice. So let me just grab these. So like so. So if we only have these 3 dice, you roll them. Everybody sees the different actions that are on there. I'll explain those in just a little bit. Just bear with me. And each of those little results tell the players what actions you have available to you. Everybody gets to see what you rolled, and then what happens is that you then cover up your board with your little player screen like so. And once the player screen is down, then you're going to go ahead and pick, which action you want to take in which order, and like so. And and then 1, 2, 3, everybody reveals it at the same time, and now you know which actions each person has. Now I'm not going to put the screen down again. I just want to leave it off for just so it make it easier for me to show how the game is played. But so there you go. As far as that is how that is that mechanism, if you will, is concerned. So now, as I said, there's several different actions you can take, but I want to talk about one last thing quickly before this. There's a situation where you'll be collecting coins for lots of different reasons. Coins can also be used as points at the end of the game, and also, if you have control of a plot, that's worth a point as well. So it isn't just getting these objective cards is the only way to score points. Usually having a few extra points because of coins or different control issues will usually propel you to victory, just because those few extra points will push you over the top. Now you might have noticed there's also another these tiles over here. These are like improvement tiles, and they have certain abilities on them. So here we have when you enter a hex with your own militia, you may activate that militia group. So it's a little extra special power that you get to enact that you will have. Gain a red die to your permanent die pool. Obviously, just having an extra die is important. You'll notice that there also is that there's these little numbers up there, 2, 5, and 4. As soon as one person has the required number of meeples on a tile, they claim that as their own, and their meeples get returned to return to the supply. So then they take that, and then you replace that one with another tile. Let's see what we got here. Gain a yellow to your permanent die roll. So here's, however, if you have a situation where, let's say, blue had 3 on there, and they need 5, and then green got all 5 on there before blue was able to do so. Yeah, like that. So green's going to claim that. But then, depending upon, and it could be multiple colors on this one that isn't just blue. But then what happens is that each person then, after it's claimed, that has a meeple on there, in turn order gets to go ahead and move it to another tile, and so they can split it up if they want to. They can go all in one if they wanted to. That's it. And you could possibly claim another tile through that action, but then of course you replace it once again with another tile. And so these are also going to be worth the points that are listed on there. They're worth those at the end of the game as well. So those are like the major ways that you're going to score points. All right. So finally, let's talk about the different actions that you have available to you. Now, the dice have different sides on them. Each one, you know, it's obviously like red Conquest dice are going to have more Conquest actions on them. Green Harvest dice are going to have more of those actions on them. So, I mean, just keep that in mind as you're rolling the dice and you learn, you know, as you play the game, you'll kind of figure that out too as you play. So, Conquest actions are pretty standard. If you manage to get like meeples on the board, those are militia because of the fact that they are on the board. You know, these over here would be workers. You know, so they aren't. So meeples on here are considered to be militia. They are moving about. They're taking control of actions or whatever. And so when you take a conquest action, you have either the option of moving your legend, or you could move militia that you have on the board. If a legend moves on to a location and attacks the militia there, they'll remove one of those militia and they'll be able to claim that as a prize. That's important because sometimes you'll have objectives that will matter to that. At maximum, you can have 5 of your opponent's militia as your trophies, if you will. If you gain any more, you have to hand one back to somebody so they can put it back in their supply. You can't just move around and just keep on taking people's workers and stuff like that and destroying them so they don't have any meeples at their disposal. So you can have a maximum of 5. If you have another legend on a spot and you move into Conquest Action and you attack them, you then would remove their next action, their next unused action from their player board, basically taking an action away from you. Very, very nasty. You want to avoid that possibility of somebody doing that to you. Or you can activate a plot that has militia on it that you control. And you can move as many as you want from one plot, one space in any direction. Now remember, you can only move in straight lines. You can't skip. You can't skip across this little line here to get over to here. So, and then once again, and you can move in different directions. You could move here and here, so to speak. And then you can move them around to take control of other plots when you do that. So that's how the conquest action goes. Okay, so a build action. Which is like a different icon. I should actually show you that icon. I apologize. So this is a conquest action, a little sword there. You can see that right there? All right, so now a build action is this little hammer guy. And a build action allows you to either draw 3 tiles from the big giant thing of tiles. Pick one of... I drew too many. I apologize. So draw 3 tiles. Pick one of those, and then place it on the board in the location that I specified before. It has to be connected to 2 other, or connected to the mist tile that's in the very middle. If you don't want to do that, you can also use it to place one of your workers, one of your meeples, on one of these improvements over here. And then and then try to make sure, and then claim one of those so you can put it on there. So those are the 2 things you can do with that. With an order action, which is a scroll, one of these little doohickeys right there. With an order action, you can go ahead and draw 3 of these objective cards, keep one, and put the other 2 at the bottom of the deck. You can only have ever 5 objectives at any one time, so if you have 5 objectives, you have to complete one to be able to go ahead and get another one at that point. You can also use an order action to add 2 militia to a spot that they control. So if green was over here, they control this, they could add, with an order action, they could add 2 militia to that spot that they control. Pretty straightforward. Production actions are these little harvests, as I mentioned. The production actions are these little rakes. For that, you either produce, on a plot, you can produce the dice that are on there, and you go ahead and you place the dice on that location to show that they're on there. Or the second option is actually just to remove one of those dice. So what this means is you kind of want to have control over spots. You don't want somebody else to come in there and take that out from you. So you're going to want to spend 1 to produce the dice on there, and then you can spend another action to then claim a die off it. You can't claim both of them, but you can claim 1 after you. But when you produce, remember, you produce all the dice for that particular situation. And that's why this leader is pretty cool, because when you build a green plot, you take a die it produces from the supply, and then produces the other die on it. So you with the build action, you kind of get to have a pretty quick produce action as well to get more dice. And more dice means more options. More options means you're going to be able to move along quickly and get those objectives completed so you can get more points. You have an economy action, which is this tree. Of course, now I can't find one. Hold on. The tree with the economy action, what you will do... give me a second. Alright, there you go. You can see that little tree there. With the economy action, what you will do there, you can either gain 1 coin from the supply or add a worker to an improvement. So you can take a coin, which are going to be worth points and also other things, and then or add a worker to an improvement. And finally, you have a wild action, which is just this. And if you have a wild action, this means that you have a lot of variability, and you can use a wild action for anything you want when it is your turn to take your action. So basically what happens is you roll these dice, first player takes their first action, next player takes their first action, next player takes that first, so on and so forth. Everybody gets done with their first action. Then the second player, everybody takes it, the second action, first player takes their second action, so on and so forth, and then we get all that done. And then third action, the first player takes that third action, and so forth. So after all of that is done, you do the end of the round. Each player will take a look at their objective cards. If they've completed any of their objective cards, they will turn those face up next to their board, like so, and then they'll keep a running total, like so, so you can you can see how many points people have. These are not hidden. The cards themselves are hidden from the other players. They don't know what your objectives are, but you reveal the objective, you show what you accomplished, and then you put them down next to you, so everybody can see how many objectives have been completed. They can see how close it is towards the end of the game. You put those objectives down. You discard all of the assigned dice. You go ahead and get rid of all the dice that you used. Any dice you may have rolled and didn't use, you keep those. You're not gonna have to get rid of those. Then at the very end of the round, the first player token will be passed to the player on the left, and then you rotate the whole start again. Remember, at the very beginning, the first thing that happens is you get back your assigned dice, like your permanent dice, or just to, if you want to skip that figure, if you used your permanent dice on your actions, you just don't get rid of them. That's the easiest way to explain how that works. So, that, in a nutshell, is pretty much how the game is played. Once the total number of objectives signifies the end of the game, as per that those characteristics there for 2, 3, and 4 players. The game then ends at the end of the round. Everybody totals up the points from their completed objectives. They total up their points from their different improvement tiles they've claimed. For every 2 coins, they get 1 point, and for every every plot of land they control, they get a point as well. If there's a tie, the player with the most improvements wins, because they're considered to be the most civilized. And if that tie is the player with the most conquest objectives wins. If there's still a tie there, the designer said to contact him via social media and complain that there isn't a third tiebreaker. Honestly, that's what the rules state. So there you go. That is Legends of the Mist. It has a wonderful combination of multiple use dice collection, like resource collection, plus area control, and there's actual conquest and other things going on. Plus tons of little variable powers that are going to come into play with all the different cards and all the different legends, I should say, not heroes, improvements, and so on and so forth, that really tie together into a very balanced, but I wouldn't say structured game, if you understand. If you don't understand what I mean by that, let me explain in my conclusion, which I'll do now. Alright, thank you very much for sitting through the gameplay portion of Legends of the Mist. I didn't want to show you like a full turn or whatever and slowly build up the map. I apologize for that if you were looking for something like that, but I wanted to make sure that you kind of just understood all the different powers and actions and as far as how you win the game, so to speak. Now, I mentioned as I got towards the end, like the structure of the game. Now, this, because of the fact that there's the inclusion of dice, you're going to have some chaos, you're going to have some randomness, and you're not going to have a lot of deterministic things that go on. Now, pile on the fact that you have these variable player powers, and that you have all these different powers and actions that are present on, the different tiles that you're placing, and all the improvements, and even like the objectives. Once you complete them, some of them give certain bonuses and what have you. Uh, you just have, I wouldn't say chaos, but you don't have a structure. You don't have a rigidity to the game, which I don't mind. I find games that like kind of that embrace the chaos, that embrace the randomness, prove to be for me quite enjoyable, just because of the fact that they challenge me each and every turn to like roll with the punches, figure out what I want to do, and use those different variables, use those different indeterminate effects to my best advantage, and it kind of presents like a different puzzle each time that I play it. Now, as I said, on many of these things, I'm an exploratory gamer. I like testing games out. I a lot of times, like the first few times I play a game, I don't even seek to win. I just kind of seek to see what the game's all about, to mess with it, and to kind of like, if I just do this, what happens, kind of thing, and just see how the game reacts to like maybe my unorthodox attempt at playing the game. Now, that seems like a pretty good excuse for somebody who just loses a lot, but it's something I like to do, and this game did that. It allowed me to do that. It allowed me to just kind of like seek out my own path and seek out my own destination, seek out my own way that I wanted to play the game. And then I was able then to kind of like retreat back a little bit and have strategies and have like a goal or a set like direction that I wanted to go. And because of that like exploratory like first foray, I was able to then just kind of understand the onion that had peeled in front of me, and I enjoyed the game a great deal every step of the way. And because of the randomness, because of the chaos of the game, it's one of those things where I know I'm going to enjoy bringing the game back to the table over and over again, because it's going to present me with a new story, a new variable, a new put together, if you will, that I'm going to enjoy. So if you think, after all that, that's something you'd want to enjoy, if you like dice Euros, I think you really want to check out Legends of the Mist. The artwork is beautiful. I love the plot. I love the immersion to the extent that one of these kind of abstracty games can have. And I think that if you like all that stuff, I think you're really going to enjoy it as well. If you have any questions about Legends of the Mist, please ask away. I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.